Hello there again, ladies and gentlemen. This is Wolf News, and again, it's 10/17/2017. I found, i.e., another article in the news about the International Research Agency, or Internet Research Agency, actually, in Russia. That's next to St. Petersburg, as they said. And it's a company that pays up to 30,000 rubles a month, or a little more than $500 in American, etc., to its citizens for those who work there. And apparently, well, the people who are obviously anti-white, because that's what they really are calling Russia a bunch of trolls and run by the intelligence agency, etc., there in Moscow, KGB, and so on and so on and so on. And basically, what it's about is that these people are always impinging on Russia's media and rights to speak and everything else, including their continued lies and criticism towards RT News and everything else that was created after Glasnost, after the fall of the Berlin Wall back in 1989, that we all know about. And then after Yeltsin leaving after Gorbachev, and then Putin and Mendev, i.e., taken over repeatedly, taking turns along with other individuals as Russian leaders, etc., because Russia is still run, i.e., by the Jewish scum of the Karl Marx persuasion that created communism and so on, just like the West is run by John Adam Smith Jewish scum, hence the capitalists, Jews, and the rest of the Masonic divide and so on. Anyhow, they're complaining that the Internet Research Agency is a bogus and a scam and a fraud and many other things. And obviously, that is a downright lie. And even though they are told, just like any other medias or companies, etc., what to say, what not to say by any intelligence agency or anyone else they work with, or have obligations to, or by law, or other policies, etc., when it comes to media and broadcasting, especially when it's international, or any research agency, and so on and so on, like this one is. In the end, it's America infringing upon Russian citizens and their abilities to speak, etc. And I've seen a lot of Russian men, women, and children in videos, even on YouTube, etc., and the VK videos, and you know what those are, that exploit, i.e., women and children for the most part. And many other act outs and behaviors of poor people and folk, and basically, despite any singing or dancing kids you see, whether appropriate or inappropriate, mostly inappropriate, they're all, i.e., from poor neighborhoods and many other things. But in the end, the people there that run this agency, and as it says, the Internet Research Agency was based at 55 Savushkina Street in St. Petersburg before it officially ceased operations on December 28th, 2016, when investigative journalist Andrei Sakharov, who works for business media group RBC, says its work continues. They have a lot of legal entities, Sakharov said, and they still, I think, change it every year or every 2 years. Company registrations retrieved by CNN, hence the anti-white media news here, as they have become constantly known as. It was part of their little race war because they're also Jewish, i.e., Masonic run. CNN has also tried to reach Glassed's management without success. Another company at 55 Savushkina Street in Glasset, whose director general has the same name as the boss of the IRA. The name matches that of a former regional police chief in St. Petersburg. Glasset lists the creation and use of databases and information resources, as well as the development of computer software, advertising services, and information replacement services. Among its activities, it was listed as a company in the Russian Legal Entities Registry in February 2015. In other words, it's only been there, i.e., for a short time, and they're going through constant changes, etc., etc. Sobchak says she estimates that now there are about 1,000 people working at Shavushkina Street, and this is just one building. She believes other employees work remotely. Another former employee interviewed anonymously by the independent Russian TV network RAIN, R-A-I-N, this week said there was a goal to influence opinions to lead a discussion. There was a strategy document. It was necessary to know all the main problems of the United States of America, tax problems, the problem of gays, sexual minorities, weapons, etc., etc. Why those categories in particular that CNN was interested in, trying to say that that was just all that was in the document? Well, that's because of the sexual deviancy and weapon smuggling and everything else, etc., that America wants to cover up. And that's the way it is. Let alone how they tax people and legally get away with fraud and money embezzlement and so on, let alone laundering. The former employee said the mission was to get into the dispute yourself, to fire it up, try to rock the boat. He gave an example. It was necessary to write that sodomy is a sin. This would also get you a couple of dozen likes. In other words, CNN loves the religious right, or those smuff Illuminati cards, and we all know who they are, let alone the idiots who came up with those cards and a whole lot more, staging events, and so on and so on. Whether they thought they saw something in temporal time or from a space-time program leak, etc., hence traitors or Jews who infiltrated as usual, hence screwing out with the space-time military and other agencies. That is none of these people's business, let alone that of minorities, period, because it was our white people that created the space-time program long before i.e. traitors started screwing i.e. monkeys. And out came, i.e., minorities from escaped lab rat experiments and all the other ancient stories you'll read, see, and hear, and so on. And so we could go on about that subject too, but I'm not going to. But in the end, whether man created himself or not, and due to traitors or not, is irrelevant. But the whole entire point is as a bunch of racist propaganda and many other things, let alone sexual propaganda, tax propaganda, weapons propaganda, and many other things that CNN was so-called interested in, along with others. He said IRA made its employees watch the U.S. TV series House of Cards to improve their English. Not unlike the fictional White House of Frank Underwood, Sobchak says the atmosphere there reminded me of some anti-utopian gulag. And that's all the article says. So, in short, they're trying to portray Putin and his medias and everyone else as this ultra-leftist, anti-this and that, and so on and so on, to expose American corruption and so on and so on. Well, technically speaking, America is corrupt. And what you just saw and heard by Tim Lister and Jim Scioto and Mary Ilyushina of CNN as of today at 4 o'clock their time, Eastern time. And it's only a little bit shorter time than that before that right now. All right. That's all I have to say about that. But they're dubbing Yevgeny Prigozhin, unusual name, is a Russian oligarch dubbed chef to President Vladimir Putin by the Russian press. In 2002, he served caviar and truffles to President George W. Bush during a summit in St. Petersburg. Before that, he renovated a boat that became the city's most exclusive restaurant. But his business empire has expanded far beyond the kitchen. U.S. investigators believe it was Prigozhin's company that financed a Russian troll factory that used social media to spread fake news during the 2016 U.S. presidential campaign. In other words, what they're referring to as so-called fake news is exposing Hillary Clinton's, i.e., fraud, and how she shuffled everyone else out, and so did the other candidates, but she got beaten by Mr. Trump anyway. So anything to try and put holes in the presidency and holes in our white Europe and white Russia and so on and so on, and every other place is being invaded by these Masonic trolls who control the Masonic Constitution America, and the rest of the hardliner trolls of Israel, the little hermit kingdom that thinks that they're a god and a religion and a race when they ain't. They're just descendants of sand-raider criminal tribes, and who will always be called sagas, liars, thieves, murderers. Besides, the number one capital of child rape. And they're talking about sexual sins. Yeah, I knew a lot of kids when I was a kid, from abuse to sex abuse. And believe me, these people are the criminals. Okay, and the last part here, according to multiple officials briefed on the investigation, one part of the factory had a particularly intriguing name and mission, a Department of Provocations dedicated to sowing fake news and social divisions in the West, according to internal company documents obtained by CNN, hence fake procured items. Prigozhin is one of the Kremlin's inner circle. His company is believed to be a main backer of the St. Petersburg-based internet research agency, a secretive technology firm. According to U.S. officials and the documents reviewed by CNN, Prigozhin was sanctioned by the U.S. Treasury Department in December 2016 for providing financial support for Russia's military occupation of Ukraine. In other words, they're bitching about the fact that Russia is still trying to help Europe be free so that it won't be taken over by the Masonic Jews who have caused, i.e., wars there, especially between Bosnia and Serbia and every other place as well, besides the Arab invasion and the fake proxy group ISIS that they created in the Middle East with the death of Mubarak and Saddam and every other Arab country they want to take down, including Southern Europe and Northern Africa, and so on, so they can have their little war with Iran later on. Hence, Netanyahu's diamond obsession that I spoke of earlier, and every other agenda by the little hermit kingdom of Israel. And in continuance, Prigozhin was sanctioned by the U.S. Treasury Department in December 2016 for providing that financial support for Russia's military occupation of Ukraine. They call it an occupation, but Russia calls it freedom. Why? Again, they're trying to take down Europe. And that's what the Jews are doing. So they can have their little Arab and Israeli war later on throughout the whole entire world for people to rush to their fake little religion of Jesus and Judaism and so on and so on, with the rest of the son of a Chester Top Yatun scam cult. Okay, and they also call it a system of automized promotion in search engines as well. Other documents show that the monthly budget for IRA was around $1 million in 2013, split between departments that included Russian language operations and the use of social media in English. The Department of Provocations offers this mission: how do we create new items to achieve our goals? Another document shows a 2013 contract drawn up by an employee at Concord Management and Consulting, Prigozhin's main business based in St. Petersburg. The contract for 20 million rubles, then $650,000 for construction work at the IRA, and was signed by the Director General of IRA. Okay. Basically, it's more propaganda. Prigozhin is notoriously image conscious. Last year, he filed 15 lawsuits against the internet company Yandex using a Russian law that obliges online search engines to remove illegal, inaccurate, relevant information. The case was subsequently dropped. The Internet Research Agency has long been in the crosshairs of U.S. investigations. In other words, the Masonic White House wants them eliminated. A declassified assessment by the U.S. intelligence community published in January concluded that the likely financier of the so-called Internet Research Agency, Professional Trolls, has more propaganda terms and code word anti-white and anti-freedom in Russia. Located in St. Petersburg, is a close Putin ally with ties to Russian intelligence, though it did not name Prigozhin. In other words, more propaganda by Jewish-run CNN. Prigozhin has a colorful past. He spent 9 years in prison in the 1980s for fraud and robbery, according to Russian media reports. After his release, he went into the catering business, renovating a boat and opening a new island, one of a half dozen upscale restaurants he owns in St. Petersburg. Putin turned him to cater to his birthday parties as well as dinners with visiting leaders, including President Bush and Jacques Chirac of France, hence the socialist dictator, hence of France. A headline in the Moscow Times referred to Prigozhin as Putin's personal chef. Prigozhin subsequently won lucrative catering contracts for schools in Russia's armed forces. He escorted Putin around his new food processing factory in 2010. By then, he was very much a criminal on his side with a growing commercial empire. In other words, they want Russia on GMO and American foods and everyone else who's on GMO, with basically the E. coli corn, the RGBH early puberty, bovine, hormones really, and the cancer, i.e. causing glyphosate, and the genetic defects, pesticides, and absolutely everything else to try and make Russian citizens and Europeans sick and unhealthy and basically dead in the water. Well, most of those kids there, just like Europe, like the way it used to be around the world, don't go through puberty until at least 14 and a half to 15. And most of them are, i.e. slim individuals. There's very few chubby kids at all, etc., in Russia. Everybody's perfectly fine and healthy and eating 3 times a day now, like they should be. And basically, they want to ruin their health and everything else. And all the rest of the stuff that these Masonic Jews are doing. All right. And so far as commercial businesses and so on and so on, they want everybody on the capitalist market and so on and so on, so that the Jews, can go ahead and steal more money from the planet besides the $256 trillion that they already scammed everyone out of. While hundreds and thousands of companies lost many hundreds of employees through so-called suicides to accidents and other mysterious happenings and everything else that is also on file all over the world. In other words, murder. And that's exactly what they want to do in Russia. So, ain't no one going to let them do that. Russia ain't going to let them do that. That's why Russia kills Jewish infiltrators when they pose as media activists, let alone journalists or protesters or anyone else who is obviously a threat from the little kingdom of Israel, the hermit land of lies. All right, we'll see you later. This is Wolf News. And again, hello there.